What's up, podcast community? My name is Cam King. This is Three Questions Podcast, episode number 45. Solo dolo episode here, just me, and super excited to bring a few questions to this. These questions occurred last night and are actually inspired by a 20-year-old coworker of mine. And he was asking a lot about women, life, breakups in general. And these are things that now, when I'm in my 30s, I have really good perspective on for somebody who is in their 20s or mid 20s or even early 30s now. My perspective and my experiences doesn't mean that I know everything, but I'm going to get into these and give you some really cool things to think about. So I'll hit you right after this little intro. Okay, cool. Welcome back. So, Three Questions Podcast. As you know, I come up with three questions, try to answer them to the best of my ability within 5 minutes. Oftentimes, I have guests on as well. If you would like to be a guest, you can go to ckcollective.co, sign up. My schedule is there. Calendly is there, as well as you can sign up for coaching sessions and CMO for hire stuff. If you don't know, you're just listening now. I used to work in marketing and advertising as a new business director. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Amazon, I really appreciate it. I think we're over 500 downloads on all 7 continents now. So pretty impressive stats. I'm super thankful for all of you guys putting in the time and attention into this. I consume a lot of material. I read a lot. I watch a lot of personal growth things, and I try to share that perspective with the clients that I do work with, whether it's on that business or that personal side. I really feel like that intersection of both of those is something that we all need to pay attention to in our lives a little bit more. And that's really what's behind this podcast. So as we sort of grow, I'm going to get new people on, people with more experience, people with experiences that can really help you grow as a person and a human being, whether that's in business or life. And I'm looking forward to some of the guests that I know are coming up here soon. So let's get into it. Question number one. How do you use a breakup to your advantage? And this question came up last night from my coworker, and he was like, he's been in a few relationships and he's always kind of struggled to get to the next plateau. He feels like he's not getting the attention from girls. He feels like he is kind of just continuously swimming in the same pond, doing laps with no real effort. He doesn't feel like he's growing or advancing. And I was like, brother, you're 20 years old, number one. You got your whole rest of your life ahead of you. Like, we live in a world of immediate gratification, and it's not going to happen overnight for you. And it doesn't happen overnight for any of us, right? In fact, you put together a lot of hard work, a lot of nights in the dark where you get no appreciation, no growth. You're not doing anything. And then one day overnight, it seems like it happens, but it actually really doesn't. So to answer the question, how do you use a breakup to your advantage? I think when we put so much attention into anything, whether that's our jobs, a career, a person, an activity, a hobby, we put our heart and soul into that, and we view that as an investment. But really what that investment is it's energy, it's time, it's resources. And that energy, right? That energy, of course, matters. But when that gets broken apart or dispersed from someone leaving, or you have an argument with your spouse, whether you guys are still in connection or you've cut it off, there's pain there because you feel like that investment just went everywhere. And that's really what hurts, right? You invest so much into this other person, have all of these experiences, and now that investment is worth nothing. So think about putting $1 million into the stock market, and you have it for a couple of years, or you have it for a couple months, and then all of a sudden one day it's zero, right? You would feel horrible. You would feel like, oh my God, what happened with that? Then when we sort of dig into the memories and we have all these things, our brains are horrible to us sometimes. It'll just run us through all these different things, and these create stored energy patterns called samskaras. And this is actually a term from a yoga book and that I read a while ago. And samskaras are these stored energy patterns like highways. Think about it as our interstate system. And when we continuously go down these, we sort of reaffirm them. We make them deeper and deeper and deeper. So the more we think about this person, the more that we do anything else, the more that we go to the same places that we used to go to with that person, the deeper we make these samskaras. And these samskaras are really what takes time, right? Like, what is the scar? Scar tissue, just something that heals over, but it always sort of leaves a mark. Breakups like that will always leave a mark for us. And it's not necessarily something that we have to avoid, but we need to accept the fact that, hey, we're now scarred permanently from this experience. Not saying that it's traumatic for you, not saying that it's a bad thing, but a scar will actually heal on its own. You just need to give it, of course, time. Now, understanding and accepting that part of breakups is number one thing. When you resist it, that those feelings tend to persist. And that's what I was having this conversation with this young man about last night. So when you're resisting that stuff, that's really what is going to make the pain sort of double down. You just need to accept it and let it go and let it hit you like a wave. Let it hit you like a tsunami, because sometimes that's how our emotions feel during a breakup. You need to breathe and you need to take time for yourself. But I would say avoid the dating scene, right? How to use a breakup to your advantage. Avoid the dating scene, avoid alcohol, avoid all of the things that you know are bad for you, right? Avoid the hookup culture immediately and take that time. Let your own energy reserve. Stay away from porn, stay away from masturbation, and just take time for yourself to do things that feel good for you, right? I went out to brunch with my dog by myself this morning, and that felt amazing, right? So little things like that, you need to find out what those things are. And then after you've taken that time to recoup, recover, and reinvest in yourself without giving other people energy, right? Like learn how to be on your own. And once you learn how to be on your own, then be like, okay, I need to change my habits. I need to change this thing. I need to figure out who I am. And then you put 110% of your energy into whatever passion project that it is, whether it's building a business, starting a podcast, picking up a new hobby, or applying to that school you've always wanted to go to. You need to go all in all the time on those new things. So best way to use a breakup to your advantage, let the waves wash over you, take time to fully reinvest in yourself without investing in other people. Don't worry about going out with your friends. Don't worry about spending time. Don't talk about the breakup. Feel it. Spend time with yourself, especially in nature, and then go and get the fuck after it 110%. I don't care, male, female, any of the other inclusive genders out there. You go and you get the fuck after a project. That is it. You go balls in. So just hit 5 minutes on that. I'm going to jump into question number 2. And this also came up from this young man. He asked me, he goes, man, I just keep chasing these girls and chasing, and it never really seems to work out for me. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I feel like I approach so many women and try and talk to them and get to know them, and they just don't want anything to do with me. And this kid, he's a little bit shorter, and he's reading books about, stuff like the game and the rational male, and he's on the path, but he can't figure out why things are not working out for him. And I remember being 20 and that also just striking out all the time, right? Even if you were in college, it was like you strike out and then you just sort of move on and hopefully something works out. But when you chase anything in life, what does that thing naturally do? Okay. If a bear, this is the analogy I used with him last night. I said, hey, if you're out in the wild, you're in nature and you see a bear and a bear charges you and you run away, what's going to happen? And he goes, I'm going to be lunch for that bear. It's like, okay, makes sense. I said, what about if it's a black bear and it, initially runs at you, but you don't move? What do you think that is going to convey? And he's like, well, I might be lunch. I was like, okay, right. Isn't that better than definitely being lunch? And he's like, yeah. He's like, what are you saying? And I said, only prey runs. Only prey runs. Think about this. I want you to think about this in your life, in business, relationships, whatever it is. When we instinctively chase anything, the biological reaction for anything else in our lives is to run away. So if you're a single guy approaching a single girl at the bar, right, you need to be calm, cool, collective, a little bit like a sleuth, okay, or sloth, but, detective form. So if you can be a little bit, calm, cool, collected, that's going to not alert these other people. And when you chase anything, right, if you're texting a girl and you just keep hitting her up, she's clearly not interested, these sorts of chasing things are going to push people out of our lives, especially after breakups for guys and girls. When someone breaks up with us or we go through, the dissolution of a relationship, if we continue to pester that person instead of giving them space to, think about whatever it is, we are going to push that person further away. When you can create an aura, when you can create an environment, when you can create a lifestyle or, a series of habits or a series of weeks, whatever your life looks like, if you can create a welcoming atmosphere for people to come into it, the right people will come in at the right time. But when we're just running from one thing to another, we're just continuously making space. We're just pushing people out of our lives. We're running up and we're scaring the shit out of people. So when you chase anything in life, whether it's that new promotion or that new job or this new connection, you're going to push it further away from you. Okay. Chasing is never the way to go. I don't care who you are. This is a concept I have really tried to invite more into my life. I have stopped trying to force things, and instinctively, why we chase in the first place. Obviously, our ancestors used to run down tons of prey so that we could eat and live and survive. So it's in our biological DNA, but modern society isn't the world for chasing right now. If you're in sales, you know that you never ever push the sale, right? You're trying to become an advocate and a resource for that person to help them solve whatever problems. Maybe their product isn't right for you. People only do business with people that they know and they like, right? Or if you have the right product. And if you pressure that person for a sale without knowing them or having them like you, vice versa, even if your product's not the right fit, they're not going to do business with you. But if I go into a sales call and I say, hey, my name's Cam, I'd like to really get to know you. They start investing in me. Now I'm building a platform for a future sale. And that's more important than making that sale in that first meeting call. So definitely something to think about there. I think when you chase anything, you push it away, you make it harder for yourself. You're wasting time, you're wasting energy, you're wasting your own resources. And if you took that time and that energy and those resources and put that into building a side project or doing something creative or working on your fitness and getting after it in the gym and learning how to eat healthy because you're watching a bunch of YouTube videos or learning how to day trade, when you take that time, energy, and resources and put that into yourself, you make yourself intrinsically more attractive for anyone else, whether that's in the professional world or the personal world. And people can see somebody who's really focused and working on themselves. And that is what is the basis for attraction. Yes, physical attraction, I agree that it's not a choice. But in this scenario, when you can focus on yourself and really build your life up, there's no better way. You have to focus on yourself and getting yourself to the next plateau, because you're going to have better opportunities there and things are more likely to happen and you're more likely to go and really get what you want. So focus on yourself. That's always what I'm going to go back to. I just hit 10 minutes for that. And last question. This really builds off of the focusing on yourself part. Question number 3, episode 45. If you build it, will they really come? This is an analogy that I also had with this kid last night. So we talked about building a kingdom and how men go through different stages of their life. They go from being a young squire to essentially becoming a king, right? Squire, knight, prince, king is really how it goes forward. And Alison Armstrong wrote a book about this called The Amazing Development of Men. And this is really the system and the analogy that she uses in that fantastic book. Highly recommend her stuff. Go download her books on Audible. But she talks about how men go through, being a squire and kind of learning the ways of the world to being a knight. And then we go out and adventure and start to understand different cultures and maybe our mission a little bit. And then the prince is really this element and portion of our life where we are in what she calls the tunnel. And you can be in a tunnel for 7 months to 7 years to 20 years, 30 years even. And the tunnel is really where you are just head down, working, trying to grind, going through the ringer, having self-doubt, questioning yourself, being angry, and just understanding the whole human array of emotions and what a man's purpose and mission is. And this is something that I feel like I've been in for, the better part of 5 or 6 years myself. I feel like I've been in the tunnel. I feel like I'm almost out. Maybe got another year or so left about that. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And what I mean by this tunnel is you question everything. You question every decision that you've made. You question who you are. You question how you got here. And that is a part of your daily existence. And that can really wear down a man, but can also really help him mature. And this is where I really feel that, young men become men at this point. And for guys, when you get out of the tunnel and you finally get to this point where you now have a kingdom that you've built brick by brick, blood, sweat, tears, everything else, and you can finally look up and say, wow, I've accomplished something here. I have something here. And this is the point where you become a king. And when you become a king, that's when you start being totally selfless. And you say, look, I have all of these materials and resources now. Now it's time for me to use what I've built to help other people. And that is the best era of a man's life, when you finally acquire this. And there's no better feeling of satisfaction for men than when we accomplish a goal or something really hard, or we get to a point where we can selflessly aid and help other people, get up. We can lift them up in life. I truly think that that's a part of a man's mission. And I think that that's something that every man should focus on and should strive for. And it's tough to go through that tunnel. A lot of people get lost there. A lot of people quit. A lot of people will just never get out of it. Okay. So when guys do finally make it to this kingdom part and we can share selflessly and it feels really good, that's what I was trying to, that's what I was trying to tell this kid last night. I said, you have to go through that process. If you really want to be successful, if you really want to be somebody, you have to go through that process, and you have to be willing to share that. So yes, the answer is, if you build it, will they come? Yes, but it takes a lot of years. Some guys do it by the time they're 23, all these crypto millionaires and billionaires and young guys doing e-commerce and drop shipping. Other guys, it takes us until our 50s, 60s, maybe even 70s, right? Doesn't matter. We all have our path. We all learn the same lessons, albeit in different ways and different times, but we're all going to the same place after this, hopefully. And I feel like it's our job to sort of learn and help each other and aid the survival of our species in a positive way while we're here on this plane. So that's really all I have for episode number 45, quick, down and dirty. I thought there were 3 pretty cool questions that I just wanted to sort of get out there. As you know, CK Collective, if you want to reach out, be a guest, or submit questions to the podcast, ckcollective.co is the site. Instagram @_3questionspodcast. And email is threequestionspodcast@gmail.com. So you can reach me one of 3 ways for this. Again, if you want personalized strategy, coaching, and sessions to help work on that intersection of your life, feel free to sign up. I do free intro sessions so we can get to know one another as well. And I have a couple side projects that are going to be down in the description box. If you want to check those out, I would definitely really appreciate that. But my name's Cam, and I'll see you guys in episode 46. Thanks for listening.